Hi, this is Denise Matthew, and welcome to the new rave year that started on January 21st, 2022. So, I'm going to give you a heads up for the next month or so on the transits that you can watch out for. It's going to go from January 24th to about the end of February, so you have a little bit more advance notice about what's happening and how to prepare for it and what to look out for. And if you haven't already checked it out, please check out my 2022 year ahead video that shows the transits that are going to be probably the most impactful for us going through the year. And of course, they may be more impactful for certain people based on the gates that you carry in your body graph. So if you don't have your body graph in hand, feel free to get it right now and you can follow along and see what transits might be impacting you or even people who you know and what they may be in store for as the days go on. So with that said, let's get into the transits. So as I said, we just began a new rave new year, and when we look at the whole mandala, we can see that the gate 41 is the beginning of the new rave year, but a couple gates short of actually starting a brand new quarter as well. So when you look at this, it almost feels like although the rave new year has already begun with the gate 41, we have a brand new quarter beginning with the gate 13. So a brand new cycle, you could say, and that's the quarter of initiation. What we're finishing off right now is the quarter of mutation, which is all about transformation, and pretty much anything can happen. And when we get into the quarter of initiation, this is really talking about this idea of coming up with some ideas and plans for the future. What's really interesting is if you go by the Lunar New Year that begins on February 1st, it's really close to the beginning of a brand new quarter. So I don't think it's all just by chance. This is very synchronistic. So it really does talk about, as I said in the whole year overview, that it doesn't really feel like we're beginning anything new until we sort of get into February and almost into early March. But having said that, it doesn't mean that we're in a freeze frame. There's lots of things we can still do, but it's just saying that it may take a little bit more time. If you've ever made a snowman, you start out with a small ball and you start to roll it in the snow, and then it's kind of small in the beginning and then it gets bigger and bigger and then eventually gets so big that you can't even almost push it. That happens kind of rapidly when you get sort of to a certain point, or you could say even the tipping point. And I think that's what we're looking at when we're really starting to go through into 2022. So the first thing that we're going to have as the rave new year begins, we have the sun in the gate 41 and we also have the earth in the gate 31. When we think about the concept that we're actually ending a quarter before we move into a new quarter, and we have just two gates before we get into the next quarter, we're looking at the gate 41. And the thing about the gate 41 is it's an interesting gate in that this is where we're starting to dream and kind of looking at where we're at right now, where we want to go in the future. This is what we could call the difference between a dreamer and a visionary. And a dreamer just potentially would always be imagining something different, something new for your life, but not necessarily implementing anything to make it happen. A visionary is very similar to a dreamer in that they want to have something bigger and better in their life. They want to have new experiences. But the difference is they're actively out there starting to make plans and starting to get things rolling, get the ball rolling. So ideally, this is where we want to be. We want to be on the side of the visionary. When we get to the gate 41, if we connect it to the I Ching, or the 41st hexagram, we can look at it as the idea that it is where somebody is pruning back a tree so that they can have good growth. Anybody who's ever gardened before knows that a lot of times you need to get rid of dead wood before you can actually have good growth come in. And that's part of it. So a lot of times you can prune it back and it doesn't look like much, but when it begins to grow again, there's a lot of really nice green growth and it looks a lot better. And not only does it look a lot better, it is actually stronger. So this is where we're at when we get to the gate 41. We have these dreams for the futures. We have this potential of wanting to move forward. And the way we do that is by trimming back our lives. What is no longer necessary? What is no longer of value? What things are we holding on to that are long past their expiration date? And what things are worth their time and effort? Those are the kind of questions that we're looking at. Now, if we pull in the earth and we're looking at sort of the grounding thing of what we're actually putting out into the earth, we're looking at influential leadership. And leadership is all about, going back to the gate 41, they work hand in hand, formulating new plans, recalibrating, being a leader for your own life before you can really be a leader for anybody else. And that's how the best leaders are. They know where their life is going and they want to give the leadership skills that they've learned to other people. And this is where we're working with, okay, get rid of the old, the things that don't serve me anymore. But it's important to keep in mind that it may not always be the easiest thing for us to do, because we get used to things being a certain way, especially with Pluto in the gate 60 right now. It's really talking about the limitations that we have in our life, but sometimes we get so hooked into the limitations or the habits that we get connected to the limitations. Even when things open up or there's opportunities for new growth, we don't actually take them because we're so used to things are always going to be like this. It's never going to change. And I can't see anything other than what I see right now. So this is a time to really look at all those things that we just talked about, and to make the kind of decisions that will serve you going forward into your future. Because ultimately, you want the best start. You want to be a leader for your own life, because if you're not the leader, then who is? And a heads up, we can all feel this energy, but anybody with the gate 30, the gate 41, the gate 7, or the gate 31, or the full channel of any of those gates can be impacted a little bit more by this transit. Venus went retrograde in 2021. Mercury went retrograde on the 15th of January, 2022. So they're both retrograding, which really talks again about this idea of things being slower and maybe feeling a little more sluggish, and more of a review and recalibrate and see what's happening before we're actually stepping out and trying some brand new things. Venus just has a few more days of retrograde. It will go direct on January 29th, and Mercury is going to go direct on the 4th of February. What that means is that we're going over a few themes over and again. So it's really kind of encouraging us to look at those particular themes of the energies where Mercury and Venus have been transiting, and they've been transiting sort of in the same areas. So it is a lot of the same energy. And we'll talk about those energies as we move through. Right now, Mercury just moved into the gate 60, and Mercury has a little bit of a love-hate relationship in this area, which means it's in detriment or not its best self in 2 lines and exalted in 1 line. So we could say it's like a mixed bag. On the shadow side, it could be very restless with the limitation, wanting to push out, not wanting to be stuck anymore. And when we're talking about Mercury, this is what people are talking about. This is what we're hearing in news and media and social media. It's all about what we're communicating to everybody. And it could also even be publishing or something like that. And interestingly, it can be very dogmatic or set on the rules and limitations and not really wanting to move out of them. Or you could even say set on your habits, where you just want to always do the same thing despite what's shifting all around you. Maybe you have opportunities to do things differently or to move out of the limitations that you usually have, but you don't want to take them because you're just very set in the way it always has been and that it won't be changing, even if it is changing. But on the lighter side, we have Mercury looking at its limitations and saying, yeah, there is potential in here and I can do this, that, and the other thing, which really does speak about this idea of balance in the energy. So if we see that we are feeling those types of energies where we're wanting to just kind of get out of our own skin, get out of our own body because it just feels like we're so limited, or that we're just so stuck in our ways that we don't want to move in any way, then it might be a good time to try and draw on the other side of it and see what you do have available, where you can go with what you have, what is open and available for you to move into, and what is going to take potentially more time before you can move to the next step. Those are the types of questions, especially with Mercury retrograding, that are truly looking for an answer about how you want to move forward. And it is a good time for healing to realize, what stories are you telling about yourself? Are they still true? Do you feel that you want to write a new story, both metaphorically and in the real world? And if so, what are the steps you're going to take to make that happen? This will potentially impact the gate 3 and also the gate 60 the most. Venus is also retrograde, and because it's starting to decide that it's going to move forward soon, it's slowed down considerably, and it's spending a lot of time in the gate 38. This does really add to the theme of where we're going and what we want for our future and what is worth holding on to and standing up for. What truths are important to us that we will stand by and we're not going to let go, and what no longer feels right for us. So this is again a review. Now, this particular review is about relationships. What relationships are serving you and what are the ones that are worth fighting for, putting more energy into. This can also talk about money, resources, and abundance, and looking at how you make your money, and does it feel good to you the way you make your money? And if it doesn't feel like it's something that you want to do anymore, is there a potential that you want to shift that up and change and do something different with the way you make your money, in a way that you're doing a job that makes you feel more empowered, and it's no longer just a day in and day out. There's some passion that is contained within it, because we also have the gate 38 that really talks about this idea of our life purpose, why we're here. So when we have Venus there, it's saying, what do I love in the world? What do I love in my life? Where do I want to put more time, effort, where I'm actually getting something back from it, abundance wise, where it feels like no matter what, I'm getting a reward because I love exactly what I'm doing. This will potentially impact the gate 28 and also the gate 38 the most. Mars is also in the gate 10, and this is going to activate the whole integration circuit. So if you have part of the integration circuit or you have the whole integration circuit, you might feel this transit a little bit more. The gates that are impacted or connect to the integration circuit are the gate 10, the gate 34, the gate 20, and also the gate 57. The gate 10 is a gate of behavior, you could say, on how you act in the world. And in many ways, it's like if you go to a baby shower, you're going to act differently than if you go to a club with a bunch of friends. It's just the behavior that is part of the whole dynamic of where you are in the world. And that's what this gate really talks about. Mars isn't quite happy here because Mars has a one kind of way of dealing with everything, and that's usually assertiveness, pushing forward, and a drive to get ahead. And it's great for things like being a general, telling people what to do. But when it comes to a little bit of finesse and kind of this idea of shifting your behavior based on what's required in the moment, Mars doesn't generally like that perspective. Two ways that it could show up is one where we're pushing the limits and wanting to get our own way at any cost and not really wanting to conform to the society norms, which is perfectly fine. The gate 10 and the whole integration circuit is individual energy, and it's very individual energy in that it's all about what you feel is right, doing your own thing, going your own direction based on what feels right for you, expressing yourself authentically. Individual energy is never here to be influenced. So in other words, you keep to your own path and you don't want to be conditioned, which makes a lot of sense because that isn't part of your path. Your path is to be different. Your path is to bring new things into the world. So it makes sense that you're not meant to have influence from others on what you should do or who you should be. With Mars here, there's this, I'm going to go away and retreat because I don't want anybody to influence me. In other words, I'm going to shut everybody out, which is not exactly the way it's going to work best. You can still have this ability to stand in your own truth and do your own thing and yet still be around people. Of course, if you feel like you want to retreat because you feel as though people are trying to make you do a certain way or make you conform or behave a certain way, well, that's perfectly fine. But just an altogether retreat because you don't want to be bothered with anything is a completely different thing. And that's what Mars might want to do, just like get out of the fray and not be involved with anybody to your own disadvantage, because ultimately we are social creatures and that's part of who we are. The other perspective is Mars pushing the limits, like we said, just this idea that not wanting to go with the flow of the world, and which is perfectly fine, but getting to the point where you're almost putting yourself in danger because you're going so against the grain that you could actually harm yourself. So in other words, you're saying, I'd rather jump off this cliff than listen to what you have to say. That doesn't always work the best. And so there is a balance in all things. And when we can see that even though we want to be our own self and break the norms and do all those types of things, the other perspective is we want to be safe. And that ultimately is the big key here, to have a balance with the energy and to know when enough is enough. Pushing against the system might be almost hurting you in some way. Right now, Jupiter is moving quite fast, so it's going through a lot of gates in a very short period of time. So it's going to move into the gate 37 on January 26th. It gets to the gate 37 and it is exalted here. This is a place where it likes to be because most of the energies within Pisces, all the gates within Pisces, are a place where Jupiter calls home. So when Jupiter transits the gate 37, it really talks about community. It does talk about spirituality and religion because that is part of the whole dynamic of Jupiter as well. That's what it represents. There is law as well. But when we're connecting it with the gate 37, we're looking at this idea of looking for the community that is your community, your spiritual community. The mantra for gate 37 is this idea of a part seeking a whole. So it is looking for your family. Now, family doesn't always have to be blood. It could be a family that you build as you go, one that you find through your path. And Jupiter is expanding this. It wants to belong. It wants to be seen for what it can bring to the table. And Jupiter here is happy to be an individual within the group, but also to align with the way the group is running. So Jupiter's not going to go into a group or a new community and say, well, my rules and everybody else, you just have to listen to my rules from now on. Jupiter's going to come in, and it's all about the strength of the community and wanting to be part of the community. Yes, you're bringing your own individual spin and who you are to the community, but you're also being yourself authentically as well. And that's sort of where we're really kind of trying to hone in on the places where we feel like we belong in the spiritual and also the religious even communities. This also talks about friendship, peace, and wanting to find close friends or close people who understand you as well, and being willing to put in the time and effort to make a friendship, relationship, or whatever kind of a connection that you have work, because you want to put the effort into it. You want to do the things that make it a good relationship. You're willing to put the time and effort into making it a good thing. The gates that are potentially impacted the most by this transit are the gate 37 and also the gate 40. January 28th, we have the sun moving into the gate 19 and the earth moving into the gate 33. So we've seen a lot of the energy of the gate 19 last year. Saturn was in it for a long time. When we have the sun, it could be activating some of those old themes that we were talking about last year, about the disenfranchised, about the people that were not being treated as well as they should be, the people that needed the most help. This is all about support, and this might be the time where we're really illuminating the people that need to be supported. The other perspective is that we might feel like we are starting to look at where we need to be supported, what we need in our relationships, what we need from other people, what we're willing to give, and is it always about us giving, or are we receiving as much as we're giving? Is there a balance in our relationships? So this is the time when we're sort of looking at that. When we look at the earth, we see that we're grounding into the concept of looking at the past experiences. So it really does kind of work together in that we're looking at what's already happened and assimilating where we've been already and deciding where we want to go in the future on how we want to be supported. It's not about always wanting to be supported and not wanting to give out as well, because that's not what this energy is about. It's all about duality, and support is a two-way street. But it does talk about this idea of kind of balancing things out and having a more even playing field. It also seems to point a finger at an end of a process, an end of a cycle where we had a lot of focus on the gate 19 and the people that were suffering with Saturn being there. And now it feels as though we're closing that out and maybe moving to a new chapter, which really does lead me to believe that all the things that we've had through 2020 and 2021 are slowly fading away, and we are starting a brand new cycle where we don't have that pandemic sort of looming over the corner, always ready to jump back in. It's maybe potentially at the end of it. And I think that by February 13th, when Pluto moves into the line 2, we might see some shifts happening. And then when Neptune moves into the gate 36 on March 7th, we might see something else open up. The other perspective is that we do have Saturn in the gate 13. So with the Earth moving to the gate 33, we have a full channel, which is talking about this idea that a lot of the secrets that we've been holding inside of us might start to come out. And when we talk about Saturn being in the gate 13, this is about talking about the suffering, talking about the people that are disenfranchised, talking about the people that are having a hard go about life. And we might start to hear the stories of how things have been for people and how they're coping with it. This is also, like I said, a culmination. We're ending a process, we're ending an experience. This has potential to impact the gates 19, the gate 49, the gate 13, and also the gate 33. And keep in mind, if you have a hanging gate 13 and you don't have access to the throat, that this might be a time when it might be super easy to give people all the secrets that you have inside of you because you have throat access. And in the world, we might see or hear some big secrets being released, especially political secrets about things that have happened in the past, and they're finally coming to light after a while. On January 29th, Venus goes direct, as we said, and what this really talks about is this idea of we've learned a lot of lessons, we had time alone, we've transformed, we've changed some traditions that are no longer serving us, and now we're kind of going forward and starting to implement all the things we thought about and the plans that we made. Mars will meet with Venus later on, and that's when things can really amp up and start to move forward in a direction where we're feeling like we're getting a lot more traction and a lot more things are coming at a speedy pace. And we'll talk about that in a few minutes. January 30th, we have Mercury moving into the gate 61, and it will be in the gate 61 right until it goes direct and starts to move forward. So it doesn't go any further back than the gate 61. It also means that it will bring a full channel with Uranus that's in the gate 24. So we're going to have a full channel with Mercury and Uranus from January 30th to February 10th, 2022. We had a lot of this energy for a lot of 2021, so it may feel familiar. This might be just talking about what happened and articulating the information that you had, the downloads that you had, and maybe having some epiphanies or even some clarity about what it all meant. There's also potential for more inspiration to be downloaded as well, because it is kind of a pressure that is inspiring us to figure things out or to rationalize or to even repeat things over and again so that we can start to get some clarity about where exactly it's going and what it all means. The questions that we always ask ourselves when we have the gate 61 or the full 6124 channel are, what do I need to know that is knowable? What don't I need to know that is knowable? And what is unknowable? Mercury is pretty neutral here, but some of the themes of the gate 61 are looking for hidden information or hidden knowledge, occult knowledge, you could say. This is also about being talented and being able to inspire others, and also discovering your own inner truth. Gates impacted would be gate 61 and also the gate 24. Mars also moves into the gate 58 on January 30th, and the gates that it might impact are the gate 58 and also the gate 18. The mantra for the gate 58 is stimulation is the key to joy. This is all about having fun, going to parties, enjoying yourself. And also because it's logical energy, it is about finding perfection in the patterns of life, or perfection in things all around you. And when you do, you can feel very happy and joyful about it. With Mars there, it's mainly neutral, but there is one space where it is looking for others to stimulate you, to give you something exciting. So there's this concept that we're looking for other people to make us happy, to make us joyful, as opposed to trying to do it ourselves. And that's the only downside that we could see with Mars. Of course, there's always going to be duality in all energies. I'm not saying it's perfect, but for the most part, this is looking at where you can put your energy to make things better in the world. This is trying to make the world a better place. And with Mars there, we're having a drive and a push and the energy to start to look at the places that need to be improved. Where do we need better systems? Where do we need better infrastructures? What things have broken down and how can we fix them? And if we can't fix them, how do we rebuild? And those are the kind of questions that Mars could be asking within this energy. On February 2nd, we have the Sun moving into the gate 13, joining Saturn, and we also have the Earth moving into the gate 7. This might be most impactful for the gates 13, the gate 33, the gate 7, and also the gate 31. The Sun comes in and it connects with Saturn, and it really does illuminate the secrets of the people that have been suffering. And we did talk about that. What exactly did happen? What didn't we know about? What didn't we see? And all of a sudden we have the truth coming out. This could be people telling you about the hardships that they're feeling or the things that they're struggling with in life. But as much as it can talk about people who have had a hard time, it can also talk about this ability to continue to move forward, to continue to be strong, be resilient, and to not stop even though things were against you, the odds were against you. It does really talk about potential political secrets coming out into the forefront again. and people blurting out things that maybe they didn't mean to, especially if you have the hanging gate 33. So the other perspective is when we see that all this energy is talking about the truth coming out and how things may not be perfect and maybe they have been overlooked, or maybe we have more time to look at the things that need to be fixed because we know that Mars is in there trying to work with that energy as well. We also have the gate 7 that is in the earth, and this is about putting your support by a leader who you think will actually get the job done, who will make the changes that need to happen, who will correct the patterns, who will make things stronger and stable, because there's been so much instability. Now it's a time to work together to get things more stable. This could be talking about how they're going to correct the supply chain issues, how they're going to correct the issues with people not having the support that they need, not having a voice in the collective. It also talks about a real spotlight being put on the leaders that are not doing their job and not doing what they need to do for the people, and those who are. And the biggest thing that we can also talk about with the Gate 13 is this ability to transform, to see where you are in this moment, but also to have an image of a place that you can be in the future and to start to work towards that future that you want for yourself. And from February 4th to April 30th, 2022, we have a rare time where we have all the planets moving forward. So a lot more potential for momentum. On February 7th, Mars will be moving into the gate 38, and that's where it sort of starts to begin its conjunction or its connection with Venus. Venus and Mars connect every year because Venus goes around the whole mandala once in a year, but it's going to be a little bit more extended because Venus is just coming out of retrograde. It's quite slow, and Mars is catching up to Venus. And in fact, Mars is going to be faster than Venus, which is unusual. It's not normally faster than Venus. Venus is always usually much faster than Mars. So it kind of brings a yin and yang together. So there's a balance within the energy. The other perspective is that Venus is going over the same energy that it's already gone over. So it's just a repeat of the same energy. The final conversation where it basically is saying, okay, here's the lessons I've learned. This is where I want to go with them. And Mars is helping push forward or giving Venus the drive to move forward and to do all the changes that it was thinking about when it was in retrograde and to start to enact all the plans that were just floating around in your head. And now you have an ability to start making things real and concrete in the world. In the gate 38, Mars can be a little pushy to get its way. And when you think about fighting the good fight or fighting for your life purpose or fighting for the things that matter to you, Mars is going to put an added emphasis into the fighting part. Whereas Venus is going to say, oh no, let's just kind of moderate that, balance it out. And so you have this power of wanting to put your energy into the things that matter and all the things we talked about, what Venus represents for the gate 38. And where Mars might be aggressively trying to get things done, to get their own way, to be pushing the agenda, Venus is moderating it. So it's actually a nice conjunction because it could help with the energy to have the best of both worlds, you could say, to have the energy to do the things you want to do, but also to have this ability to moderate Mars so that it's not going a little too far in one direction. And this will potentially impact anybody with the gates 28 and also the gate 38. February 8th, we have the sun moving into the gate 49 and the earth moving into the gate 4. This might be more impactful for anybody who carries the gates 63, 49, 19, and also 4. The sun here really does illuminate this idea that we need better systems for the people. It is really talking about the same theme as the gate 19. It is a tribal theme. The gate 19 is talking about I need support and I'm willing to help you and support you if you can support me. And usually it can be support of finances when we're talking about it like on a mundane level. The gate 49 might be the sort of finances. Now, they can always work differently. It doesn't always have to work like that. But this is where we're saying we will give you all the abundance or the things that you need, but we also need something as well. And we need to be supported as much as we're supporting you. This is also the willingness to go to revolt or to push against a system. If you don't feel a system is actually working for you, this is where we're saying, okay, we're going to push against a system because we're not getting what we need. And this is the force where the Gate-19 might sort of talk about wanting to have some more support and this sensitivity that you need, even emotional support. The Gate-49 is, I'm going to push forward. I need to get something more because I'm just not getting what I need. When we have the Gate-4, we're looking for the answers, and this is where we're grounding into it. We're grounding into the answers that will give us some more support, to give us the things that we need. And that's the balance between the two, where when you think about it, we have this tribal energy, which is about, I give you something and you give me something back. It's like a give and take. But then we also have this logical energy with the Gate-4 that's saying, let's figure out the answers. Let's formulate something that we can bring into the future that will give us revolutionary answers to questions that have been sticking around. So this is where we might start to see really innovative ideas that are coming out of the collective, where people are saying, okay, we have new ideas of how we're going to move forward, how we're going to get more support for the people, because ultimately that is what the Gate-49 is. It's all about the things that we need to survive on the mundane plane. Food, shelter, all the things we need to procreate, to be supported in some way, because if we don't have that, then nobody's going to be happy. If people are hungry, then there's going to be a need to revolt because we need to get food on the table. If people are cold and they don't have a shelter, there's going to be a need to find answers to how that all works out. So this is one more way that we're starting to push forward to finding solutions that have been, in many ways, I think, overlooked or not looked at, because it's always been, for the last couple of years, it's always been this catch up where you're just trying to put out fires. And now we're looking at all the fires being put out, or most of them. Maybe there's a few here and there. And we're now looking at taking an assessment and looking at what we have now. Where can we go forward? What can be salvaged? What can't be? Where can we put our support? What are the answers that we need? And this is really a very early stage where we're formulating the ideas of what we need to move forward. And this could be in your own life as well. What are some things that you need in your life that you need for your support to feel as though you have a solid footing? And what are the answers or solutions that will give you what you want in the future? And on February 10th, we have Mercury going through the Gate 60 one more time, reactivating the same themes we talked about. And Mercury won't be back in this energy until 2023. So we have Mars and Venus going to be connecting, and they're going to connect in the 54 line 4, that mystical line that we talked about, where it's called enlightenment or endarkenment. And it does add a lot more emphasis to this energy. This will be the final conjunction, or the final place where we have activation of this line for the whole of the year until it's transited again later on in the year. On the mundane side, this could be a drive for Venus to start moving into the direction that you want to. Where do you want to go with your career, or even your life in general? Where do you want to go so that you can start getting a better life for yourself? Something that you feel you're getting seen for what you can bring to the table, and you're also being rewarded for what you can be bringing to the table. This is really about recognition for talent. So there's potential to be recognized for the talent that you have. Now, when we look at the mystical perspective, and we know that Mars and Venus are going to be in there, they're going to have this more activation of this energy, and there is no detriment or exaltation in the 54 line 4. This is, anything can happen. So we have this balance of yin and yang energy within that line. Could we see more mystical things happening, connections that we wouldn't expect? Can we start talking about the mystical things that we've seen in our life? Can we make it more of a universal thing that isn't considered woo-woo and unusual, and instead see it as part of the natural human experience, that we can have these mystical connections with the universe, with mundane things in the world that suddenly become mystical and still see that as a normal part of life. And that's what this energy is really encouraging us to talk about those things that we might keep to ourselves because we don't want people to think there's something wrong with us, to open up about all the amazing things that have happened to us and to not have any taboos around what we share about that particular theme. And this potentially can impact anybody with the gate 32 and also the gate 54. On February 13th, we have the sun going into the gate 30 and also the earth going into the gate 29. Now, we did look at last year, we did talk about the fates and the 30, where every line has a particular strategy that helps us work through when life gets in our way, you could say. So you have a destination where you want to go, but something stands in your way. And each line talks about a particular strategy that can help you move along or do what you need to do so that you can get through that particular issue or problem in your life. In many ways, we could say that this is where the universe says, okay, you're going to stop right now, and we're going to let you do this, that, and the other thing before you start moving again. We experimented last year with Jupiter and how it went through each particular line of the fates, and it actually did show up that it did embody each line and the strategies that we could use. I did a whole video on the fates, and I will leave the link in the description box, so if you want to check that out, it can be helpful. The fate lines are connected to your profile lines. So in other words, if you have a 1-3 profile, it would mean that you would use potentially the strategies for the line 1 and also the line 3 that are talked about within the fates. When we have the gate 30 being transited by the sun, we do have this illumination of things potentially not going to plan and having a backup plan, we could say, or the strategy for how we're going to maneuver around it. When we're grounding into the gate 29, where the earth is, it's really talking about perseverance and continuing to move forward one step at a time, one day at a time. This also talks about having a passion for what we're doing. And sometimes when we're looking at the combination of the gate 29 and the gate 30, we could look at the idea of we are doing something, we have a desire to do something, because gate 30 is all about desire, passion, holding on to something, not letting go, sometimes burning yourself out because it becomes so all-encompassing, this need that you have. The gate 29 says, yeah, the need is important, but do you have a passion for it? Or is it just something you're chasing because it feels like that you've been chasing it so long and you continue to chase it, or the desire's gotten so strong that you've forgotten why you're doing it? And sometimes that can happen. This is reminding you, is it worth it after all? Is it something that you truly want in your life? Is that desire, that passion, that fire that you have burning, is it true to you anymore? Does it need to be moderated? Is there a new desire that you want to light up? And if it is something that you want to continue with, then the gate 29 can give you the persistence, the resilience, and the stay with it attitude to continue forward. But there's also a key here, and that's to make sure that you never get to the point where you're burning yourself out just to get to the end of the course, no matter what, because there's nothing in life that is worth burning yourself out. Because if that happens, then you're not going to be able to enjoy the goal or the dream that you realize in the end, because you'll be too burnt out to actually to have gratitude. February 17th, Mercury moves into the gate 41 and it begins again. It already was in the gate 41, so now it's returning to the gate 41 and truly beginning a new cycle around the mandala. So in many ways, this might feel like the beginning of something new, where we're starting to prune back that tree that we talked about. And people are talking about what they want to do in the future, the experiences they want to have, where they want to go, the goals, dreams, aspirations. And this is where we might really start to feel as though things are starting to move a little bit further forward than they have been so far. On February 19th, we have Jupiter moving into the gate 63. And again, it is exalted in 3 lines, in fact. So it's actually a good place for it to be. This is all about finding the answers to the questions. This is the pressure and inspiration to find the answers to the questions. Now, we did talk about the gate 4 already, where we're trying to formulate the plans. This is giving more inspiration for formulating the questions that if we get the answers to them, they can solve a lot of problems. Because ultimately, the gate 63 is the inspiration to find just the right questions asked to get just the right answers. Because with the right answers, we know where we can go in the future. So if we imagine this idea of having the ability to ask only one question. Well, you want to make sure that question is perfect and has as much information that you can gather from the answer that is potential, because you want as many solutions as you can to move forward. And this is a concept. It's not actually like that where you only can ask one question. I mean, you can ask as many questions as you like, but basically it just says that it's being super efficient with getting the right answers for the questions that you're asking. This is also going to be activating pressure to find the answers to the questions that we talked about with the Gate 4 of how we can get better structures and how we can get things online and move forward where we have a more stable future. This is in many ways the elephant in the room that is finally where we're starting to talk about it and say, yes, it actually is there. And if we look at the Gate 63 as the spiral of life, where we are coming back full circle, and we know that we're coming back full circle in our lives. And a lot of times we can look at our life and say, well, we haven't gone anywhere, we haven't done anything, we're back at the same place where we used to be. But what this reminds us is that life is a spiral instead of a circle. It doesn't ever close. In every ending, there's always a beginning, and the spiral goes up, and we're always elevating in some way. And no matter what our life looks like, we still have the experience of the life that we've lived up until that moment. And experience is a wisdom that just doesn't come overnight. It's something that is built over time. And the spiral of life reminds us that wisdom comes with time. And only with time can we really start to see the meaning of our existence, where we're going, what our purpose is, and to see that though we close one cycle, we're always opening a brand new cycle. The sun moves into the Gate 55 and the earth moves into the Gate 59 on February 19th. And this might be most impactful for anybody with the Gate 39, the Gate 55, the Gate 59, and also the Gate 6. When we get to the sun in the Gate 55, we're really illuminating this idea of spiritual abundance, or the abundance of spirit, which I think can really build on the idea of Jupiter being in the Gate 37. Just having been through the Gate 37, we had this concept of where we were going, finding the community that we wanted to be a part of. And now we're infusing our spirit, because when we talk about the spirit of the Gate 55, this is our own individual spirit, giving our spirit to the world, an abundance of spirit. Spirit can talk about our emotional energy and how we are emotionally connected to things that matter to us. It's individual energy, so it's all about being our authentic self. And also, there's a big component within the Gate 55, which really does talk to this idea of surrendering to the universe and doing everything you can. And when you can't do any more, you surrender to what the universe will show you. And that's what this energy is really showing us, that if you've been working really hard to make something happen and it just hasn't been happening the way you want to, sometimes letting go and allowing the universe to answer your prayers can be one of the most difficult things you can do, but also one of these energies that when you do it, a lot of times the universe will open up and give you something that you hadn't expected. When we look at the Gate 59 and we're grounding into this energy, it is about sexuality, potentially also about sensuality, connecting with people, having intimate connections, but it can also be this idea of breaking barriers. So when we look at the Gate 55 and we're grounding into this idea of breaking barriers between delivering or sharing our spirit, our abundance of spirit with the world. And also this idea of breaking barriers with how we bring our abundance to us, with this concept of always having this idea that it only comes a certain way. And this can be breaking barriers, breaking norms, and seeing that it isn't only one way. There are other ways that abundance can come into our life, and being open to universal blessings whenever they want to shower upon us. February 22nd, Mercury moves into the Gate 19. And the potential for impacted gates would be Gate 19 and also Gate 49. And we did talk a lot about the sensitivity of the Gate 19, and this is just putting it to words, seeing it in the world. People are talking about needing to be supported. The one key thing to talk about with Mercury here is mainly neutral, but there is this energy that if you want help when Mercury is transiting through this energy, it is something that you actually actively have to ask for. And that's really the key within this energy. There's this concept that you want to feel needed by other people, before you are going to help. And that doesn't always happen that way, but there's potential for that to be the case where people are not offering help, but they will definitely give it if you ask for it. And not everybody likes to ask for help. So this might be a time where you can think about, do you need help? Is it going to be easier if you get the help? And if it is, then it's a time that even if asking for help is a difficult thing for you, this is a time where you more than likely will get the help you need if you reach out your hand to others. Also on February 22nd, we have Mars moving into the gate 61. Now it's still communing with Venus, so we know that there's a little bit of both energies within every gate until we have sort of the end of March. Mars is in detriment in almost every line within the gate 61, but with Venus there to balance it, again, we could have searching for our inner truth, having the inspiration to find the answers to the questions that are elusive to us. We do have a full channel once again between Venus/Mars and also Uranus. So where this is one more time where we're getting more downloads. Because of Venus's presence within this energy, hopefully that will balance Mars and the yin and yang energy so that Mars won't be as pushy trying to get the answers. And sometimes Mars just wants answers to questions that have no answers. And that can be a little problematic, but because Venus is within this energy at the same time, there is potential for it to be a lot smoother of a transit. The other perspective is there is potential to want to take your secret information or the occult information that you may have found and to keep it all to yourself. But the key with this kind of information that we find, the occult information, is that if it's not spread into the collective, then it will never become anything of a collective knowledge. And if it doesn't become a collective knowledge, it's usually lost and we never will retrieve it again. So that's why it's important to share these occult knowledges or these hidden informations, esoteric informations with the collective, because only that way can it grow and become a permanent part of the collective. On February 24th, we have the Sun moving into the gate 37 and we have the Earth moving into the gate 40. Now, this is one of the first oppositions of the year and of the mandala. We do have two other oppositions and we will see those later on. An opposition is an energy where we have the connection between they are opposite each other in the mandala, but they also make a full channel, the 3740 channel. This is giving everybody willpower. And with these energies, they work really nicely together. Again, this is about community. We also have the gate 40, which is this idea that they're working for the community. They're working to support the community. And the gate 37 is supporting the work of the gate 40. And where the gate 40 might like to have some isolation, to be alone, to not always be bothered, the gate 37 is helping out to nurture and care for the gate 40, care for the family, because the whole idea is with community, there's strength in community, and the family and community need to be supported. This is really bolstering this idea of building our community, infusing their energy into the community. This is a tribal community, so it's a give and take. It's not something where it's a one-sided thing where you're just always giving and you're not getting anything back. The highest version is always going to be working in conjunction with each other. The gate 37 can be all about finding your spirituality, discovering the connection between you and something higher than yourself. And the gate 40 doesn't really know if there is something higher or if what we see is what we get. So there is a bit of duality within this energy, even though it is a full channel, but it is talking about the idea that we're going to all have willpower as a collective for a couple of days. So the other perspective that we can look at with this energy is that when we are making bargains or any kind of an agreement or a deal during this energy, be certain that it is exactly what you want to do, because if you don't, there's potential that you may get into something that you don't necessarily want to later on, because this is an emotional energy, and within an emotional energy we always have to wait for our emotional wave. And even if you don't have an emotional wave, this might be a time to sit on some agreements that you might be wanting to make before jumping into them, to make sure that they are things that you want to do, because this is really connective energy, in that if you agree to do something within this energy and then later on you decide you don't want to, it can cause a lot of flapping feathers. So this is a good time to make sure what you're getting into, the agreements, the relationships, the commitments of any kind that you're getting into, are definitely something that you do want to do in the long run. And that's it for the transits until sort of the end of February. And if you want to know about the slower moving planets and their transits, please check out the other video that I spoke about, the 2022 in overview video. And I will, as I said, leave the link in the description box. Other than that, I will see you guys again soon. Take care. Bye for now.